Okay, good morning, everyone. It's actually not morning when we're recording this, but this week we won't, most of us won't be available to do gardening tips live, so we're doing it not quite live. Right now it's Wednesday evening, and we were going to talk about some things happening in the garden and also some questions that have been asked in the Facebook group. One thing let me introduce myself. My name's Amy Hahn, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener, and I'm joined by my friends and also Master Gardeners, Margot Emery, Brian Townsend, and Roseanne Smith. And one thing that's different about this week is you won't be able to give us live comments because we're not live. But we will be putting the resources related to things we talk about in the description on YouTube of this video. So it'll be a little bit different than usual, but we hope you enjoy it. And we're going to get started with our conversation. And one of the first things, oh, Brian, yes.
Uh, I wanted to mention to our viewers here, I will be at the Dixie Lee Farmers Market at the same time that we would normally have this right here. Y'all are more than welcome to come by and holler, and we can talk about it as deep as y'all want.
And I will be at Market Square Farmers Market in downtown Knoxville. And so if you want to come and say hi, I would love to hear you and talk to you. And so we're only there a couple times a year, but Brian is at Dixie Lee every week. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and start our slideshow. And the first couple of pictures are Margot's, so I'm going to let her talk about those.
These are my sweet potato slips after they've been in the ground probably 2 weeks. And last show we talked about how the slips that Amy started on her own were much more lush than the ones that I received by mail order. Well, mine have caught up and are looking great. And I'm growing these less for, oh, I hear my dog being bad, less for the sweet potatoes than for greens, because the Master Gardeners had a speaker come and talk about uncommon edibles, and the fact that sweet potato leaves can be eaten as greens was one of the points he made. So these are going to be my greens. They're in a grow tub that Amy called my attention to that Tractor Supply sells, because I needed more growing space, and I have
How
three.
big is that tub?
Well, that would be a good question. Is it like 45 gallons, 37 gallons? Do you remember? It's whatever size you tell me.
I think it's about 20 gallons. I think it's like, oh, what is it? 70 quarts or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah. I know it. I needed help moving it once I had it full.
Oh yeah, once they're full, they're pretty heavy.
They are. So I've got sweet potatoes growing in 2, and then I'm about to dedicate the third one to something else.
Okay. You're going to have a bottle of wine and smash it on the side like they dedicate big ships.
To launch it into its new journey, for sure. This is my hot mess of a espalier muscadine vine growing on the side of my house. I pruned this during dormant season, but you look at that and you think, what on earth did you prune? Because obviously you didn't prune enough. And you are right. I pruned out the dead growth and vines that were crossing each other. But at that point last winter, I didn't know about cordons, which are the names for clusters of stems along the main grapevines. And you're supposed to have them spaced out about the width of your hand, one from another. And obviously I did not do that. And we're seeing a heavy load on the vines of leaves and also grape clusters. And so I went ahead and did some out of season pruning, and you can prune grapevines in the summer months. And Amy, if you could go to the next slide. It's not perfect, but here I've got spacing between each cordon of a hand space. There, a couple of places where a couple of vines are growing. It's not just one vine, so there's some duplicates there. Ison's Grape Nursery, where I got this, recommend pruning up. If you choose between an upper growing vine and one dangling, to cut the dangling ones, because the others that grow upward will produce better. So I've got that going on. And I've left some areas that are just long, that are full of leaves that don't have grape clusters on them. I'm going to be doing some more pruning. I want this to look better than that. But that shows a lot of the energy that I took off that vine that it was having to maintain. And there's lots fewer grape clusters and more green leaves compared to grape clusters. So it looks like a hot mess still, but it's a better hot mess, and it'll be better for the vine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how grapevines can grow. I mean, they grow
Yeah.
crazy.
It was looking under control right before all the leaves came, and we got the rain at the early spring, and it just took off.
Hmm.
How
I
much
won't-
of a pitch is that ground?
Oh,
It's more of a pitch with my sheet mulching. It looks steep, but it's not. There's just a slant away from the foundation. And
Okay.
I've got blueberries growing there, and then the vine at the center point. And I want to grow heavy vine arms along the horizontal lines. But so far they have grown thin, and some have died off, and the new ones are there. The growth is on the new vines,
mhm.
new cane.
I think it does take a few years to get a robust, you know, the main cordons, the main, what is it, arms of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't they twist together over
The
time?
ones that are growing certainly have, and they cling to the line that I've got. I've got horticultural line there, and
Mhm.
they also cling to the siding on the house. And I've got a piece still kind of stuck up in the window frame that I've got to
Oh,
get a
oh, I
grabber
see that
on.
right up here.
Yeah, I got to get a grabber on that and pull it down before it dries and
Yeah.
fragment. So it'll
Mhm.
look better. I'll share another photo of it on a future show. But it's in a far better place than it was.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's real nice to see things developing.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
see
Yeah.
one of the arms branches right there on the right side knocking on your window.
You
Mhm.
know, it is.
Yep.
There were several that are growing past the window and growing upward before I took my pruners out.
Mhm.
Ah,
And there down in the foreground is a mullein. That is my spirit herb.
Oh,
I was gonna ask you
there.
if that was a mullein.
I encourage them and just let them grow wherever they crop up. And we've got a bare patch of lawn, and the HOA wasn't interested in underwriting some grass seeds, so I just took a seed stalk from a
Mhm.
previous year's mullein and kind of scattered it around in that area, and I'm hoping to see offspring come up there.
Oh, good.
That will fill in that bare spot beyond measure.
Yes, that
I'm
will.
glad to hear that, because I have 3 right now that I have allowed to grow in my lawn
Mhm.
and in my garden, and they are very pretty and they have wonderful texture, even though I
Mhm.
know they're supposed to be weeds.
Well,
well,
uh,
what's a weed? It's any plant that you don't want there at the moment. I think that's a personal opinion when you call something a weed.
Well,
Yep.
someone gave me what they said they thought was a lamb's ear.
a big lamb's ear.
Oh,
Well, it grew bigger and bigger, and I kept thinking, wait a minute.
Ah,
Well, herbalists will tell you they have medicinal properties that are valuable. And I have read histories of my neighborhood that mullein was grown by people living here in the late 1890s or so. And I like to think that my mullein came from their mullein. The birds have been moving it around. But I've grown it to have on hand during COVID, and I won't go farther than that. But I've not had a use for it. But it's there in case I need it or want it.
it's also called cowboy toilet paper.
Yeah.
yeah, they would plant it around outhouses.
Really?
along with the lamb's ear.
Okay.
I would say this is more practical around outhouses than lamb's ear because lamb's ear is pretty small, but these things, they're sizable leaves.
This is
Okay.
true.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your
Let's get away
your
from that.
mullein and
purple.
your muscadine and sweet potatoes. Look forward to hearing how those go through the year.
For sure. Let's move
Yeah.
away from that embarrassing slide.
Right. This is a not embarrassing one. I was at a friend's house and their kids were like, "You gotta see the nest." This is looking between the slats of the upper layer of their playhouse.
Oh,
And so there was a rafter underneath it, and the robin had built her nest there and laid eggs. And she'd actually, this is either the second robin that's been there or the second clutch for the year. And so, you know, the kids were really excited and wanted to show it off. So I thought I'd share the picture.
The blue is so beautiful. Robin's egg.
Yes, just beautiful blue eggs. And so if you see a nest like this somewhere, just leave it alone. If the robin has had enough courage to lay her eggs there, she's probably going to have enough courage to sit on them. You know, they are very used to being in places where people are. So don't worry about them. Okay, we've had quite a few questions in the group. Is it time to pick my garlic now?
Yeah.
No. This here is Egyptian walking onions. Don't pay attention to them. But these little guys here, this is garlic. And these ones are down to like 2 or 3 leaves that are brown or yellow. And this is a little bit past time for picking. So I am a little bit late with picking this. And always with garlic, don't just grab the stem and pull, because almost all the time you will pull the stalk off and the garlic won't keep as well. But what I need to do is I need to take a tool and put it around out here where I'm not going to nick the head of garlic. And I need to loosen up the soil and just gently pull it out and then brush the soil off of it. So this is a little bit past time for harvesting. And this is a very early variety of garlic. I don't know what this one is specifically because it was given to me. I have another one very similar called Spanish Roja that grows very similar, and it's considered a very early garlic variety.
what is too late and why?
Well, when it's too late, you want your garlic heads to have a wrapper around them.
Right.
So you want them to have a couple layers, and each leaf represents a layer of coverage for your bulb. And so these, and I generally peel off one layer just to clean the dirt off. So this one might have 2 layers of coverage, which just isn't very much because they're very thin when they dry out.
Yeah.
So I prefer, okay, so this is another variety that's a later variety. And it's actually not time to harvest it yet because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green leaves. So the optimum time to harvest this would be after these 2 bottom leaves have turned yellow. And then I would still have enough cover for my bulb so I can peel 1 or 2 of them just to clean it up for storage. But if I harvest it now, the bulb isn't going to be full size. Because the energy from these leaves will actually, and it's starting to, you can see their tips are starting to turn. The energy from the leaves moves down into the bulb. And so those last couple weeks, the bulb actually does most of its growing in size. Now you generally won't around here get really huge garlic bulbs because our climate just isn't right for them. But you can get good size. And if you do give them a good bit of nitrogen fertilizer, which I didn't do a good job at this year, you will get bigger bulbs,
When would you put
bigger
that
heads.
nitrogen down?
Yeah, they are nitrogen, heavy nitrogen feeders.
When would you do that?
I generally try to do it in February when they start growing again after the winter.
Yeah.
So I tend to go with organic fertilizers, which take longer to work. And I'll give them, one fertilizing at planting, which is usually end of October, beginning of November. And then I'll fertilize them again in February when they really start growing again. Because they'll grow some after planting and then they just sort of sit there for the rest of the winter.
Sounds like me.
Okay, this one's just was a curiosity. A friend of mine gave me an onion, a sweet onion that was starting to go bad for the compost. And I realized the thing was actually sprouting. So I just planted it. And so it's been in the ground over the winter and it's made 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've actually harvested one. So it's made 5 sort of golf ball size sweet onions.
Are those
And
flowers at the upper end, or is that leaves?
these are actually, I tried to do flower stalks and I broke the flowers off because I wanted to stop it from doing that. So it did have more leaves and they've dried up. So I should get this out of the ground and bring it into the kitchen and use it. But it was interesting to see what it did. They gave me 3 of them and one of them completely rotted and the other 2 did this. They just made multiple babies. Okay.
So you
this
said
is-
something about Egyptian onions, just leave them alone because they're just spreading around, I guess.
Well, let me go back to the picture of the garlic. Okay, so this is the Egyptian walking onions.
Mm-hmm.
And it is planted down here and it's starting to make a bit of a bulb. And then it does a tall stalk and the top of the stalk is a little head that's got multiple just small onions. And you can replant those. And that's how they walk across the world. But I don't let mine, I control mine. So I'll actually put some of these in a pot and let them grow, and they'll grow into little scallion onions. And then next year I'll plant them between my garlics again, because it helps me keep my varieties separate.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
little bit crazy. I think I've got 14 or 16 different varieties this year, something like that. Because I just like to see how different they are. And it takes work to keep them apart. So I put the Egyptian walking onions between my varieties of garlic.
And
Okay.
I
'Cause
think those are the unofficial onions of master gardeners in Knox County because so many of us have them. And I know I've got
Mhm.
mine from you, Amy, but we've spread the love around.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I got mine from you, Amy, and
Yeah.
I observed that they're trying to walk over to a whole nother raised bed.
They will if you let them. And what I do is this time of year, I'll actually, well, when I'm harvesting my garlic, I harvest the Egyptian walking onions, and they'll have a little bit of a bulb there in the ground, and I actually cook with it.
Okay.
And so I don't save the mother bulb. I actually cook with it. Though you got to be careful because these stalks here are
Mhm.
sort of woody and you don't want to put those in your food. You could use them in a soup stock, but they're not, they're tough and stringy. So they're not fun to put in food. But the bulb part is fine.
Mm.
And so it'll have the little bulb part and the leaves coming off the bulb part, and then it'll have the flower stalk just budded right next to it.
Hmm.
And so I'll try to get some pictures of that because it is sort of interesting next time. Okay, so back past those. Okay, this is just a little area. I've actually got two areas that are almost identical that have curly kale, lacinato kale, what is it? And then two different broccolis. And between them are, this is Bulgarian giant leeks, and this is shallots. And so they're just, I like sort of doing some mixing up of plant families. That helps with pest pressure.
Yes.
Because if the pests land on a plant that's not the plant they're looking for, particularly cabbage worms, they won't lay eggs. The other thing I will tell you about my property is we have done things to encourage birds. And so I have a lot of birds. And this time of the year, birds are actively looking for caterpillars of any kind to feed their chicks. So far, I've seen a couple cabbage moths, the white imported cabbage moths, but I haven't seen any damage on any of my cabbage crops out here. But I am keeping an eye on it, and it's something I do expect to see eventually. But one of the things I wanted to talk about here is we've had quite a few folks ask about their broccoli not producing. You know, that they like started it in February. Okay, so like my broccoli, I started it in February. And let me stop sharing my screen so we can sort of look at each other a little better. Okay, I started my broccoli in February. I planted it out toward the end of April. Okay, so I've got a seed packet here. This is actually not the variety that I planted this year, but this one is 55 days, but that's actually 55 days from when you plant it. Okay, so if I planted it the beginning of March, 55 days is almost 2 months. So April, May, but our weather has not been ideal for broccoli.
Yeah.
Broccoli likes consistent, cool weather. And really, when our temperatures get up in the 80s or close to 80, it just sort of goes into almost dormancy mode. So it probably won't be producing even at its normal timing.
So it
So
doesn't
far,
recover from that dormancy.
yeah, well, it just sort of, I think the days that it goes that hot, it just sort of sits there. And then when it's a little cooler, it'll actually do some growing. But, you know, the weather just hasn't been ideal for broccoli. Some years we have good broccoli years. The other thing is broccoli is a heavy feeder. And you do want to make sure you've got enough of the nutrients it needs in your soil.
I never heard that it was a heavy feeder.
Yeah, I know one year I planted, I got the 6-pack of broccoli from the store. And I planted one of my broccolis where I'd had my compost pile the year before. And then I planted one in my normal bed. And then I planted one in a pot, you know, probably 2 in each place. And the one that was planted where my compost pile had been, the ones that were there, did really nice heads and grew pretty fast and were about the timing, you know, the package indicated it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But the other ones grew much slower. And I don't know if I ever even got heads off of them. So, you know, broccoli is not a dependable crop here in East Tennessee because it's so weather dependent.
Yeah.
And I have found some of the sprouting broccolis. I've grown a variety called Asper Brock a few years ago, for several years, because a friend of mine told me about it and actually asked me if I would grow some plants for her and for me, and she bought the seed, and so I've grown some. And it produces little broccolis instead of big heads, but it keeps producing them. And it does seem to be a pretty reliable variety for here.
It's
You will find the
growing
seed is
flowers
quite
right now.
more expensive.
There are flowers. Some Asper Brock showed up after the winter, And so it got real tall and skinny, and now there's beautiful
Uh-huh.
yellow flowers on it. So I don't think that was the intention.
Now, if it's got flowers, what you want to do is you want to cut it way back. So cut it to where it's just got maybe four or six leaves. And then it should start putting out new shoots. Because the flowers are just the broccoli that's gone over. So if you see the yellow flowers, it's just the broccoli that's gone too far. Just don't let it get to making seed, or it'll think it's done with life. But if you cut
I
it
thought
back,
that.
if you cut it back now, you might actually get something out of it.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back to the slideshow.
I wanted to grow Romanesque broccoli, and I never get it done in spring and time. Can some broccolis grow in the fall and just go into winter?
Yes, they can. And if we have a mild winter, you're likely to have success with doing fall broccoli. But if we have a hard winter, because what happens is you won't get a lot of growth through the winter, but then the plants will be at being like teenagers come the next spring,
Uh-oh.
and then they will jump into action.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know broccoli had parties.
Okay, you guys know I do experiments and stuff, and that I like to save seed. And last year I let some of my Bulgarian giant leeks, they indicated to me they were starting to make scapes, so they wanted to do seed. So I let them do seed heads, and I was going to collect the seed, and life got crazy and I didn't. So this is where the seed head fell. So I have this nice cluster of Bulgarian giant seedlings. I would actually rather have the seed, but you know,
Looks like
they're
you have to
here.
mow the grass.
Yeah, they do look like grass. There's so many. And then I have a little volunteer marigold.
Oh.
Okay.
So what's gonna happen to those?
I've got to decide. I might just dig them up and share them with some friends of mine. See if they want to try them, because they are more of a summer leek than a winter leek. They're long and skinny, but it is really too later than you would want to plant leek starts.
Mhm.
Okay. Speaking of being a little bit late, I finally got some of my peppers planted today, and it's not too late. We do have a really long season here, and peppers like hot weather, so they should be fine. These are mostly poblano and Cubanelle peppers. And then a new variety I'm trying called Joe E. Parker, and it's an Anaheim type pepper. So these are new ones to me, and we'll see how they grow. I've gotten to really like chili rellenos in the past few years, and I want some nice poblano peppers. So, but it's not too late. What is it? This is an elephant garlic flower, and it's going to be lavender. Oh, and I didn't see the spider here.
Oh,
Onion family flowers are just quite beautiful. And I'll probably take some more pictures as I let some go to seed. This is Queen Anne's lace, and it's a wild carrot. And on it is that's a soldier beetle, soldier bug. They're called a goldenrod soldier bug. They do get on goldenrod, but I see them mostly on marigolds. And they eat insect eggs and really small, soft-bodied insects. So they're a beneficial insect in your garden. They'll also eat small aphids too. So they are a helper in the garden. Okay, this is another plant that I like to have around for my beneficials. It's a narrow mountain mint, and it's just got flower buds on it. They're not open yet, so the beneficial insects aren't attracted to it yet, but they will soon. And then this plant is another kind of mountain mint. but it's not blooming yet either. And then, oh, this is goldenrod, not goldenrod, milkweed.
Hmm.
And so you can see there's a couple of bees on it. There's one down here, a bumblebee. There was another one on the other side there. And so it's blooming really nicely. Now, what I have heard is I'm going to let this finish blooming, but after it's bloomed, I'm going to cut it back significantly, because what I understand is the monarchs like to lay their eggs on new growth of the milkweed. So if you cut it back, it's going to produce new growth from these leaf nodes. And so you can have nice new leaves for your monarchs to lay their eggs on. And this is the common milkweed. It does grow a little bit wild, and it does pop up where it wants to. There are other varieties of milkweed. The butterfly milkweed, which does a small plant and has orange or yellow flowers, is much more of a clumping one. It doesn't do the underground stolons that go all over the place. This is just another picture of some milkweed that's a little bit more developed. And this is a milkweed beetle. And they're just black and orange. And they do chew on the milkweed, but they don't do any significant harm to it. And then now for my last picture, and I think I've showed this one before, this plant before, but this is just the Carolina rose. And it's my understanding that it's one of the few native roses that we have here in East Tennessee. And I think that is it for my slideshow.
I need to get a cutting of that.
I will get you a cutting of that sometime, but you'll have to let me know what's the best timing for that.
Back home in South Texas, we started these in August. So we overwintered them because we seldom had harsh winters, although this past one was hard on Texas also. But that is the better time, is the fall weather is cooling down. And we can leave our plants outside most of the time. But I think this one can be done pretty much any time. And if it gets too hot and dry, you just put them in the shade.
Okay. And there's just another couple other things that I really want to mention that you need to be aware of. What is it? Mosquitoes are coming out. Probably have been out. If you have any water containers that stay out, water troughs, rain barrels that don't have screens on them, be sure to treat that water with BTI. One of the easiest forms to find that in is a product called mosquito dunks. And so you can break those, and the package will tell you how much of a dunk you need for so much water. And those kill the larva mosquitoes, the wigglers, before they hatch out into the adults. And if you have smaller containers of water, be sure to dump them. You don't want to have any standing water that's not treated on your property. And then that'll go a long way to preventing mosquitoes.
Yeah. It's a good idea to tell people, if you do have standing water that you maintain for whatever reason right there, and you have a mosquito dumps in there, it is safe for pets to drink it.
Right. It's safe for pets and birds.
Yes.
And also for, if I understand right, for bees. The mosquito, what's in the mosquito dunks is very specific for water breeding flies. And so it's not safe for fungus nets. But I don't think anyone has a problem with that. Another thing to really be aware of as we're moving into, what is it, a season where fire ants are more active and other insects that might be a problem for you. Weeds are being really crazy. If you're going to pull out a chemical pesticide and herbicides, insecticides, fungicides are all considered pesticides. Be sure to read the label on the package. And I know many packaging now says go online and read the information. Be sure to read the information because it really is important to follow the directions for your own safety and for the safety of the environment. Many, many pesticides are very harmful to waterways and aquatic life, and you're not supposed to apply them within so many hours of a rain event, when rain's predicted, because they can hurt the creatures that are supposed to be in those waterways. So you really want to read the instructions and follow them.
Also, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay. And if you're treating a pest issue in a vegetable garden or on a vegetable, there are instructions about how long you're supposed to wait before you harvest that vegetable between the time you apply that pesticide to the area. So, it really is important to follow the directions. And it is federal law to follow them, though I will say people aren't watching over your shoulder, but it is for your own safety.
Now, are there some of these pesticides, like say you're talking about the fire ants, and others that should never be used around edibles, or is it conditional?
I would say read the label on the package.
Right.
Because I don't know every pesticide out there. Right. I know quite a few years ago, I had fire ants in my vegetable garden, and I had covered an area, one of my beds, with a tarp over the winter. And the fire ants thought that was a really great place to build a nest. And so I had a big fire ant nest in one of my beds, and I looked all over the place for a product that was labeled safe for vegetable gardens that was for fire ants. And I did find a product that contained a botanical insecticide called spinosad that was labeled as safe for vegetable gardens. Now, there might be other things available now. It's hard to know, but if I'm going to use something in my vegetables, I really do want it more labeled as safe. And it's not just safe for the vegetables, safe for me as the gardener working in that soil after I've applied whatever it is. Because there's some things that are, safe in areas that you're not going to be digging in. And then there are some things you don't want to be touching. You want to wear protective gear if you're going to be digging around where those were applied. So I think what I actually ended up doing was, and this is not a super safe thing to do, I will tell you. It is a totally natural thing to do, but I had another place where there were some fire ants, and I was pretty sure they were a different colony. So I took a bucket full of fire ants from one colony and put it on top of the other one, and they moved. And that was what I needed. I needed them to move out of my vegetable garden.
Well, did they have a big battle or something?
I guess they did, but I didn't really see it.
It was all underground, Amy.
But
Perfect.
putting fire ants in a bucket and carrying it 100 feet across the yard is not a safe thing to do.
No,
they will try to get you.
Yes.
So,
yeah, you could have been
I can't
in the
really
middle of the battle.
recommend that strategy. But, if you sufficiently disturb their nest, they will usually move. Because they don't like to be in a place where they're disturbed. But what is it? It looks like, it's been a beautiful day today. The weather's been in the what is it, 80, up to 80, but low humidity. It's been lovely. I hope we
Yes.
get more of these low humidity days. But be careful for yourself. It's easy to get dehydrated when the humidity is low. And I think we're ready. Are we ready to say bye, or do you guys have anything else?
Oh, I am seeing fireflies on near ground level.
Oh,
Whereas before I thought I saw them midway up trees about a month or 2 months ago.
I don't know. We'd have to find a firefly expert.
Well,
I haven't seen the
been to one.
cicadas.
I've been to one of the classes that a lady put on an hour, 2 hour program on fireflies, including the synchronized ones up in the Smokies.
Oh, yeah.
But she talked about all the different kinds, different colored fireflies, including blue glowing
Oh, cool.
fireflies. I have pictures of them. And different species will have a different signal on their flash when they're flashing. Not like me.
There's a really cool book, and it's like Fireflies and Glowworms.
Yes.
And I got to hear the author, speak a couple years ago and have some conversations with her. And the fireflies are just fascinating. And one of the things is, as I don't know, we've talked about leaving the leaves and not shredding your leaves or sending them to the landfill. And one of the important places that firefly larvae live is in leaf litter. And so in places where they get rid of all the leaves, you're not going to have as many fireflies. And so, yeah, we want things like fireflies.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
did you know that you probably heard this. I thought that the fireflies were males and the glowworms were females, but there's female fireflies and male glowworms.
Yep. Yeah, there are some species that just stay glowworms. And then but the females are usually the ones that are flashing from a stationary place. And the males are usually the ones flying around. If I understand them right.
Sounds like a lot of guys I know.
Yeah. Oh. Well, we hope you enjoyed this recorded show. And we will be back with you on, what is it, June 8th, right? Yes, June 8th for Gardening Tips Live. Oh, there's another thing that I forgot about. June 7th, UT Gardens will be having the opening for their Art in the Garden this winter. And the title of it is Stillness in Motion, and it's going to be dragonflies. And so there's dragonflies that have been painted by artists all throughout Knoxville, and they're like 3 feet wing spreads, and they're going to be mounted throughout the garden. And so the opening for that is 5:30 to 7:30 on June 7th. And I believe that exhibit will be open the whole month of June. And then later in the summer, you'll have the opportunity to bid on those dragonflies to have them in your own yard. So that's a really cool thing that's coming up.
And one of those special dragonflies is by your daughter, is that right?
Yeah, my daughter did do one. But there's so many. There's an artist that every year does whatever the theme is in different colored woods. And they laminate the different wood pieces together. If you go to UT Gardens, and I'll put the link in our thing, you can see all the different ones that have been done through the years. They've done, what is it, butterflies and dogwood flowers. Last year they did foxes.
Hummingbird.
hummingbirds, bees, birdhouses, all sorts of different cool things. I don't know how they're going to keep coming up with ideas, but they seem to every year. But, well, we've enjoyed this time with you and hope you've had a great week. And we will see you on live on June 8th. And, hopefully you've gotten to see us sometime around or after June 1st. Happy gardening, everyone. We'll talk to you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Aye.
Bye.